Hey guys, Marmalade here. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 7 of what I've learned on the PCT. And again, we have 4 great questions. And as I've said every single video, please give me more questions if you're wondering if you're going to do a long section hike, even a weekend trip on the PCT or through hikes, things like that. You wonder about anything. I would love to help you out if I can answer you at all. And let's start with question number 1 is from Dave N. As you refine your gear trip after trip, what do you do with your old gear, especially if it is in perfectly good shape? Do you sell it, give it away? I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to get rid of stuff, not accumulate more. And I can definitely relate to that because getting to where I've gotten, and I'm sure where I'll be eventually with my gear, is a process, right? And it's trial and error. So a lot of my early gear was very heavy. You know, obviously it's more expensive when you get lighter and more compact. So that's where I've gotten now. But it's been one piece of gear at a time. But a lot of my old gear became my car camping, SUV life, but car camping kind of gear. So my first tent was like 6 pounds. I think my tent now is 25 ounces. My first tent became my car camping tent. I actually just got rid of it because it kind of fell apart. Um, and I have a new one now but I haven't got car camping to show you yet. But so a lot of it I just reuse in other ways. I've given away some gear. I do sell gear at times. But it's a good reminder because I think I need to go through my stuff and sell some. So I appreciate it. That's probably the shortest answer I can give you for that. All right, question number 2 is from Tony Simi. He asked me, last time I was hiking, I missed my chair. Can you recommend one? Well, it's funny because as a person who's getting more ultralight and getting my stuff lighter and lighter, I of course never bring a chair on a through hike or a long sections like I've been doing the last 4 years or things like that. But I have eased up on my thoughts on that, and I ended up buying the Helinox Chair Zero, which is right here. And I think this video is going to come out right before Thanksgiving. I'm going on a 3 more day hike of the PCT the day after Thanksgiving, so I'm going to bring this thing. It is 1 pound 2 ounces, so what is that, 18 ounces? And that's with the bag they came with, which is like about, I want to say it's about 4 ounces. So I got this DCF bag. I know it doesn't make a big difference, but I think it's like 1 ounce instead of 4 ounces. Um, yeah, so I'm right at a pound or a little under. So this is from Light AF. I'll put their logo here somewhere. But yeah, I don't know what the actual bag cost me, but it's very tough and much lighter than the other bag that it came with. But you don't have to do that. But I've really enjoyed a chair on my short hikes, overnighters, stuff like that. Even day hikes, I brought it just to, when I get to a peak, sit on it. So I would do the Helinox Chair Zero. Some of the stats are, I think it's $129.95 as of November 2022 at REI. You can get it at many places, but REI has it. So basically $130. So it's not cheap. Once again, everything that's more compact and light is more expensive. And this is 13.5 inches long by 3.5. It has a max weight rating, so basically 265 pounds. When I haven't been hiking, I get up to about 250, so I'm right at the max. I can tell my chair is straining, but it can handle a lot of weight for a really light chair. And also, it has a whopping 5-year warranty, which actually surprised me for such a ultralight kind of piece of gear. All right, there you have it. Super light, super compact. I put it on the side pocket of my backpack. Just fits there next to. Usually, I have one water bottle on one side, and I have this on the other. But I really enjoy this, especially being tall. It just sometimes it's hard to sit on really low rocks or on the ground or on stumps that are really low. So this really, really helps me. They've since come out with a high back one that it really intrigues me, but I don't know if I want to spend another $130 just for a little extra. But especially for a tall guy, the high back looks even more intriguing. But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Tony. All right, getting hydrated there. All right, question number 3 is from Behind Enemy Lines. They ask, can you recommend a packable rain jacket? So I have a great answer for this, but I can't answer it yet. Only because I appreciate the question. I'm going to show a picture of the one I've had for the last 3 years. If you notice, the last time I was on the PCT, I finally tore a hole in it, but I was about to replace it because some of the seams, it seam sealed, is coming off. It's a Frog Togs Extreme Light. I'll try to show a clip or two of me with it on or something here so you know what it looks like. So I don't want to be too much of a spoiler, but I'm gonna do a video on very soon on the new one I got. I couldn't decide if I wanted to get another one or get something different. There's Z Packs makes a great one. Enlightened Equipment makes one, but they're all like $300 or more. And I just kept thinking, you know, for the little bit that I use them, do I really, you know, want to invest that much? So I got a new one, and I'll break the news and explain it and show it to you, and the weight and the cost and everything. I think that you'll like it. It's very packable and actually cost efficient. So look for that video very soon. All right, the fourth and final question is from my friend Brad, or AKA Wolf Adventures, and he asked, "What gear failures have you had on trail, and how did you handle that?" So I actually had to make a list. It's so funny because when I attempted my thru hike in 2019, I thought I had my gear dialed in. I'd been hiking in the, you know, I live in San Diego area and hiked in the desert portion. I figured close to 2,000 miles in the 2.5, 3 years that I started backpacking up to my thru hike, and really tested all my gear. I thought I had it all handled, and I could not believe the failure I had just on the PCT hike, mostly just in the desert alone. And I have a few other failures I've had on trail. And you know, he kind of asked how I dealt with it. So I'll try to answer both those as much as possible. But I had to write it down because I couldn't remember it all. But in 2019 alone on the PCT, first night, my air pillow, it's a Sea to Summit Aeros pillow. Had it like 2 years. First night, I blow it up. I put my head on it. Went to Hauser Canyon for the first night of my thru hike. I was excited. 15.4 miles. Put my head in the pillow. Whoosh! All gusts came out of the seams, and I had a leak in my pillow. So after 2.5 years, the first night on the trail, I now had no air pillow. So I ended up having to use a stuff sack and put some clothes in it. And a lot of people do that to be ultralight, but I frankly slept horribly like that. I was lucky that Robot in the Wild, my friend Robert, brought me a pillow a couple days later on trail, and that's what I used the rest of the way. I've since got something different, but yeah, that was interesting. And then when I woke up and I left and I went another 15 miles, I realized on night 2 that I forgot some tent stakes at the same campsite. So it was not a very good, it was a rough start to start my thru hike. But you know, it always seems like terrible then, and then you laugh about it later. So what else did I have? Okay, on day 7, I before my first zero, I took a zero at Warner Springs at mile 109.5. So I did my first 7 days straight. I did a resupply at Mount Laguna, but basically went straight through. And I had gotten the new Sawyer Micro Squeeze. It had just come out before my thru hike, and I made the mistake of, I'd always had the Sawyer Squeeze, and it worked great. So I got the Micro Squeeze. It was smaller and lighter, and said it works the same, had the same filter. This is what they said. Well, I took it. Day 8 was a zero. On day 9, when I hiked out, it had been raining in the morning, and I got water out of the creek about 5 miles in for my day, and the river was kind of silty, and it clogged my filter up like there's no tomorrow. And I, for the life of me, could not flush it. I had other people try it. I tried it 10 different ways, could not get it to get the sediment out of there. So my Sawyer was virtually useless 9 days in. When especially in the desert where it's hot and there's a lot of long water carries where there's no water sources, it was a bummer when I'm hiking with other people and I had my water bag, you know, put it in the creek or the lake or whatever, and then squeeze. And I was squeezing as hard as human, so my hands were killing me, and my filter was just dribbling water out of it. So you can imagine how long that took when I had 4, 5, 6 liters. So that was a bummer. I'd have all my hiking partners staring at me like, "When are you coming?" So that was a bummer. And how I dealt with that is I went from Warner Springs mile 109.5 to mile 444, which is KOA Acton, and got a ride from my hiking buddy Bart into REI, and it was under warranty, so I switched it out and got a new one. And I actually went to the Be Free by Catadin that Bart had, and the flow rate, I've never had a problem since with that one. All right, I hope you can hear me okay. I have this new lavalier mic, and it's got noise canceling features, but I have somebody next to me on the loudspeaker. This is once again, the perils of being in a public park. But I'm going to keep going on my list. Later on, I'm going to try to find some pictures and put here. I hope I have some, or maybe I'll get a video clip of me. But basically when I got to, I don't know the mile, it was 550 or something, I don't know. It's pretty far into the desert at Hiker Town, that really weird place, and I'll try to show some pictures here. I was just setting my tent up like normal, and I had the Tiger Wall, the Big Agnes Tiger Wall 2, and I was just setting the poles up. You know, you put the poles in the corner of the tent, and when I bent them and put them in the corners, the male and female part right in the top snapped, and so just right where the joint went in. And so happened to have some service. I called Big Agnes. They were actually pretty difficult about it. Said they'd send me a new piece of pole and the description on how, like a email like PDF on how to restring your poles, which is fine, which is what I wanted. I had to kind of figure out, okay, well, because they were difficult, like, well, we'll get it out in a couple of weeks, I think, and this. And I'm like, listen, I'm on a trail, like I actually need this. So I had to figure out not only how fast we were going, but how long it was going to take them to actually just physically put one piece of pole in the mail. They had lots of extra pieces from old repairs, and so all they had to do was put in the mail, but they said it would take weeks. And from Utah another week or whatever. So I picked a place like 3 weeks out. So I had to so basically what I did was I put the two poles together, male and female, and it was broken in the center. And I found an old tent stake, like just a steel one, and I put it on there and used it like a splint, and I taped it with duct tape, and so basically kept these two pieces together. The problem was when I broke down my tent, I had these two pieces so I had, instead of them all breaking down to be this long, I had two that were taped together. So I had basically this one, like it looked like an antenna that was sticking out of my backpack because it had the splint right in the middle. So I'm gonna try to show a clip here somewhere, but yeah, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it looked weird having this big antenna sticking out of the corner of my pack. And then the problem was it because I'm M6'3", there's bushes and stuff that I have to duck under normally, and I have a pack that's a little higher. But then when you have a pole sticking out, I kept hitting it on things, and I'd forget about it, and then catch it on things. So it was literally a pain in the what. And it's laughable, but I made do. I mean, I figured out how to fix it, and my tent would work fine when I set it up. It just packing down wouldn't work very well. All right, two other things on the PCT. This is almost all in the desert. I'm not lying. I went through two air mattresses, and I'm a bigger guy, but I had a really good ground sheet. I used a Assorted Gear thin light pad under me because I cut my teeth in the desert. I know there's pokey things to protect it gives me R value too, but to protect my air mattress. And I started getting a slow leak in my air mattress. Sure enough, so when I also got the KOA, I got a new filter, like I told you, that I also got a new air mattress. That one started leaking pretty quick after two. So I went through basically two of those. So that was a pain. Basically, how I solved it was I had to just deal with it and blow it up every hour or two at night until I got to Canyon Meadows at mile 702. And then because I had to wait 6 weeks to flip up to the northern terminus because of the snow in the Sierras, I just got a new pad, and I got hurt 2 or 3 weeks into that. So that pad lasted, but yeah, I was on my third pad, and I went 900 miles in my first year. So yeah, not a very good experience. And I see some people kind of go they'll do their triple crown and all the three big trails with one air mattress. And I don't know how that's humanly possible, but maybe if you're smaller and lighter, that is. But I haven't had luck with air mattresses. And the one I have now is leaking. What else? Oh, the last thing. This isn't a gear failure, but this is me being dumb. Early on, remember it was a high snow year, so when we went over San Jacinto and Big Bear and Wrightwood, there was tons and tons of snow. So when I got to Idlewild, came back up Devil Slide, and we're going across and going to go down, and we're going to camp at Fuller Ridge, like 12 miles, and it got the living crap beat out of me post holing in the snow. Snow was waist deep, and being heavier, I was post holing, other people just gliding on the snow like it was no big deal. But we were going to Fuller Ridge, so did the 2.7 miles up to the saddle, and then I don't know 11 miles. It took us 9 hours to go 11 miles because of the snow. But as we were getting towards, it was a nice sunny day, and the snow was melting. That's part of the reason why I post-holed. But towards the end, I'm going to show you a clip here somewhere. The wind came in, and it was like sleeting, raining, snowing sideways, and it was like 50, 60 mile an hour winds at the top. So I wasn't prepared. My rain jacket, because it was a sunny day, was buried in my pack. So we pull off in the snow on the side of the trail, and I am burying my whole pack to get to my rain jacket. And that's why you have to be prepared. And I was, not prepared then. Put my rain jacket on, put everything in there, and I had my cook kit with my titanium pot, my brand new stove I spent like $70 on, my fuel canister, lighter, all that stuff, and a bright orange bag that it comes in, the Toaks bag. Was sitting on the snow, put everything in there on white snow, put my pack on, and walked away from it. Didn't know it was sitting there. I don't know how in the world I didn't see it, but got all the way to Fuller Ridge, freezing cold, got to 28 that night, but freezing cold and windy, and I was hoping for a hot meal, and no cook set. Went through all my stuff, everything, and realized I guess I left it. So I went all the way to Wrightwood, which is mile like 350 years. I don't even know anymore, 350. And my friend Hammer was kind enough to bring me. He was actually out backpacking and he had an older cook set that he gave me, and I'm still using it to this day. I have a different pot, but I still have the stove. So yeah, that was quite the story. The last two are not on the PCT, but in 2021, when I was doing from Canyon Meadows north, did Whitney and all the major passes in the Sierras, my sunglasses frame broke. I was taking them off, and they just cracked. and that's where I got in my first aid kit. I carry a little thing of super glue, super glued them, and they lasted and they held the whole time. So that's how I dealt with that. And then the craziest one probably is on the long trail in Vermont. Um, they have fire towers there, and they're usually about 4 stories, so 4 sets of stairs going up. And it was at the end of our day, and my battery on my phone, because I vlog, was dead, almost dead. So I took my phone and the charge cord and the 20,000 milliamp Anchor battery, put it all in my jacket pocket. So even though I wanted to film, so I wanted to make sure I had battery. And we're going up 4 stories on these stairs, and I wanted to make sure I was just charging my battery too. And I get to almost the top, and the battery falls out of my pocket, and the cord, comes out, and the battery hits all the stairs on the way down, and then hits the rocks that the fire tower is bolted into. It just goes koosh, and I'm just going. Here I am. Not only do I use it for GPS, on my Gut Hook Now Far Out app, but I vlog, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And the craziest thing was, how did I deal with it? So I videoed. I had some battery videoed. I went down there, and turns out though, I've never opened up one. It's just a bunch of AA rechargeable batteries inside of Anchor batteries, but it came open. But the shell kind of came off, and everything was in place. So I actually took duct tape and I wrapped it up, and it would never charge up the battery more than like halfway, but I was able to use enough charge to get to the next town. And we went through a ton of small towns in Vermont, but the next town happened to be a big town, and I was able to buy a new Anchor battery at Walmart. So it was, I guess, good timing. It was a bad thing that happened, but before I knew it, I had another 20,000 milliamp battery. But yeah, that's it. That's my story. Sorry to go on so much, but that's the kind of stuff that happens. I watched a lot of people's gear videos before and after, but I see a lot of people. If you're going to do the PCT, you will be surprised that you will either have stuff fail or have to replace almost everything in your backpack. So when you are saving money, think about that. It's really important to not to. You never know when your stuff. Some things that will fail might be under warranty, and so you don't have to pay anything. But I've seen so many people go through 3 backpacks and 2 tents and change all their clothes and just all that stuff that happens. And our gear is easily made to last for weekend trips, but a thru hike really beats that stuff up. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing long distance hiking, is to have enough money and a backup plan to be able to keep going. If that's one of the biggest percentages of things that stop people's hikes is the finances. So unexpected things like that. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed that too. Um, and once again, I need some questions. So if you have more questions, we have enough questions for probably one more video. So if you have some more, bring them on. If not, we'll stop until we get more questions. But I've really enjoyed doing these. I hope they help. Some are fun. Some are things you already know. Some are not. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, please. It really, really helps me. And even more, believe it or not, is liking, because liking moves me up in the algorithms and gets my videos viewed by more people, which gets me more subscribers. And hit the notification bell up in the upper right if you'd like to be notified every time I have new content. And that is it. Thanks a lot for listening to me, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.